Hello, everyone. My name is Brennan Marr. That noise you're hearing is my ventilator, and welcome. Welcome indeed to Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. Today's going to be a real short episode, but let's talk. Fridays are usually about discussing the Force, but they're also about discussing speculation in the future of Star Wars. Today, let's talk about The Mandalorian. Now, we have heard some big casting that is not, to be clear, has not officially been confirmed, but comes from pretty reliable sources. And that, of course, is the casting of Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano, Tamora Morrison as Boba Fett, and Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan Kryze. Okay, so let's back up. Who are these characters? Now, I talk about these characters a lot, but if you are not familiar with them, let me explain. Ahsoka Tano was Anakin Skywalker's Padawan, or apprentice, during the Clone Wars. The character was not liked at first, but has since gone on to become one of the most popular characters in all of Star Wars. It was announced that these three characters, Ahsoka, Boba Fett, and Bo-Katan, would be appearing in Season 2 of The Mandalorian. Okay, so that's Ahsoka. She was Anakin's apprentice, who, as you can imagine, based on the timeline of the Mandalorian show, escaped Order 66. Later, in Star Wars Rebels, she teamed up with the main heroes to go on some adventures. Boba Fett, of course, we all know, as the bounty hunter that first appeared in The Empire Strikes Back. And then Return of the Jedi was eaten by the Sarlacc. He's a very popular character. I like him to a degree, but I never understood what all the fuss was about. And then, of course, Bo-Katan Kryze is a Mandalorian. During the events of the Clone Wars, Darth Maul, who had survived his defeat by Obi-Wan in The Phantom Menace, Darth Maul conquered the planet Mandalore. Bo-Katan led the fight against him and was successful in ousting him from power. Later, in Star Wars Rebels, Bo-Katan became the leader of all the Mandalorians, taking on the title of Mandalore, and possessing the Darksaber, which is a black lightsaber that is the symbol of the ruler of Mandalore. Or rather, the symbol of the person called Mandalore. Now, at the very end of Season 1 of Mandalorian, and there are spoilers here, so if you don't want to hear any more, go no further. Moff Gideon is in possession of the Darksaber. So somehow he got it from Bo-Katan. So that's kind of these characters. and why they are an importance or what their stories are. And the reports say that all three of them will be appearing in season 2 of The Mandalorian. So that's kind of a general overview. We're going to take a short break to hear about our sponsor. And when I come back, we'll discuss the speculation for what their stories might entail. See you in a moment. Hello there, this is Brennan Marr, host of Page Turners They Were Not, a Star Wars podcast. And I'm here to tell you about Anchor. Anchor is the best way to make a podcast. Why is that? Well, first off, it's free. Yes, you heard me right. Anchor is free. Anchor has all the tools you need to make a podcast from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you on various platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can make money from your podcast. And get this, with no minimum listenership. That means you can make money even if no one listens to your podcast. That, of course, is not ideal, as Anchor will allow you to spread your podcast, bring in more viewers, and you can make more money because of it. Everything you need to make a podcast is in one place on Anchor. If you're interested, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Thank you, and may the Force be with you. Okay, we are back. And that was a word from our sponsor. Okay. What could these characters be doing in Season 2 of The Mandalorian? Well, let's start with Ahsoka. It is theorized, or rather, I am theorizing, that Luke may have begun his Jedi Academy. During these events. Now, The Mandalorian takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi. Now, we don't know the exact details. Luke mentions in The Last Jedi something to the effect of he took a dozen students and started a Jedi Academy. We don't really know at what time period this was. So it's possible that during the events of The Mandalorian, that the child, Baby Yoda, but we'll call him the child, will ultimately be delivered to Luke's academy. That's a popular theory. One that I think is entirely possible. The Mandalorian himself, Din Djarin, our main character, was given the task of reuniting the child with his own people. Now, I don't know if that means we're going to go to the planet where this species is from, or if he's going to ultimately be delivered to Luke's academy, or to Luke, or Ahsoka, or somebody. So this is where Ahsoka comes in. In my mind, it is very likely that Ahsoka crossed paths with Luke Skywalker at some point. Particularly after the Empire's defeat, when the galaxy was safer for Force users. I imagine many people with aptitude in the Force came out of the woodwork, so to speak. Maybe Ahsoka's one of them. It would stand to reason that the Mandalorian would cross paths with Ahsoka. For a couple of reasons. Number one, Ahsoka is a Force user, is a Jedi. Though she may not call herself a Jedi, but let's just say a Force user. The child's strength in the Force may be something that Ahsoka would be interested in. Particularly if Ahsoka is working with Luke, which is possible. Or at least working with the New Republic to help out. So that's one reason. The child's aptitude in the Force may be of interest to Ahsoka. The other reason is that Ahsoka has a great friendship with the Mandalorians. Particularly with Bo-Katan, as it was Ahsoka who helped dethrone Maul. Or at least get him off of Mandalore for good. And Ahsoka allied herself with Bo-Katan to do that. And Bo-Katan was the rightful ruler of Mandalore, as her sister, Duchess Satine, had been the ruler of Mandalore. And then it passed to Bo-Katan. So Ahsoka has a great friendship with the Mandalorians. And with the main character being a Mandalorian in the show, it stands to reason that they would cross paths. Which, in my mind, means that Ahsoka and Bo-Katan may appear together. Or at least be connected, that when those characters appear, they may be working together. So that's really what I think there. That's really all I can say about Bo-Katan. Now, it is possible that Bo-Katan may be seen in a flashback. That we may see Moff Gideon taking the Darksaber from her in a flashback. Now, the reason I doubt that, Katie Sackhoff, who plays Bo-Katan, and the reason I say plays is because she voiced the character on the Clone Wars and Rebels, but Katie Sackhoff is also an actress who has appeared in many things, not least of which being as Starbuck in the new Battlestar Galactica. So, the idea of seeing her only briefly in a flashback does not seem likely to me. Because why would you hire an actress with that pedigree and then not use her? The same is why I do not believe Ahsoka will be a flashback either. And I think neither Ahsoka nor Bo-Katan will be cameos. Brief cameos, I should say, because that might be a waste of the actors. Unless they are planning to do spin-off series of those characters. But it would not make sense to me to only have Ahsoka and Bo-Katan appear very, very briefly in The Mandalorian. A full episode or two, that sounds more likely to me. So either we see... Now, it's possible that we do see Bo-Katan in flashback losing the lightsaber, but then see her in the present take it back from Moff Gideon. That's certainly possible. Now, as for Boba Fett, oh boy, well, it means he escaped the Sarlacc. So, now there is some stuff about Boba Fett's armor in the canon novel Aftermath. In fact, in the Aftermath trilogy. I'm not willing to bet any money that they followed that book very closely. Well, though to be fair, the book's references to Boba Fett's armor are very vague. So, you would not run the risk of stepping on the toes of canon. But in my opinion, I don't care if they step on the toes of canon. Because a lot more people are going to watch The Mandalorian than read Aftermath. But regardless, it means Boba Fett survived the Sarlacc pit. I always figured it was just a matter of time until they brought Boba Fett back for future stories. And I do like the fact that Temuera Morrison is playing him, though I think Daniel Logan, who played him in Attack of the Clones, could have played the character. However, since Boba is a clone and is now an adult, it stands to reason that he would look like Temuera Morrison. Now that begs the question, will we see him without his helmet? I have no idea. As Temuera Morrison played Jango Fett, it stands to reason that he would play Boba, as Boba is a clone of Jango Fett. Now, what purpose would he be in this series? Well, it seems likely to me that he would be a rival to the Mandalorian. That's my guess. Because I can't see Boba Fett being an ally, or suddenly becoming a good guy, since we saw him do some pretty nefarious deeds in the original trilogy. So it stands to reason that he would be more the villain. And I guess it was just a matter of time, because it does make sense to have him in the show. So that's really as far as I wish to speculate. Now, it is my theory, here's a theory, that Moff Gideon wants the child, because the child is going to play a part in resurrecting Palpatine. I was discussing that with a friend of mine this morning. We know from episode 3 of The Mandalorian that they were trying to extract something from the child. That the client and Dr. Pershing were trying to extract some genetic material from the baby. Or whatever he said, extract the necessary material. And we know that Moff Gideon wants that, wants the child, and he's like, he means more to me, more than you know. So either Moff Gideon wants to inject genetic material of the child into himself, which I think is likely, but I think it's kind of ridiculous, so I doubt it. So maybe likely is the wrong word. It's a possibility, but it's a low possibility. Maybe he wants to try to inject himself with midichlorians. I doubt it. That would be... I think Jon Favreau knows the fans would not stand for more midi-chlorian talk. Or they're extracting the material to build the clone body for Palpatine. Maybe, since the novel tells us Palpatine's a clone, and that his flesh, like in the old Dark Empire comics, his flesh does not support his spirit very well. Maybe they want the genetic material from the baby, from the child, to try to build a better body for Palpatine to inhabit. You know, maybe, and I doubt that they will actually get what they want from the child. So maybe that's why Palpatine's falling apart in the sequel trilogy. I don't know. So that's my speculation on some of what we might see in Season 2. And I don't really want to speculate too much more because we might get into the era of, or rather get into the zone of me speculating irresponsibly. So anyhow, those are my thoughts on the future of The Mandalorian. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Brendan Marr. That noise you're hearing is my ventilator, and thank you for tuning in to Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. May the Force be with you.